Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we continue with our medical gas series. This one is how to schedule medical gas families in Revit. If you haven't seen the previous videos, I would recommend you start in order so that you don't get lost. So first we created a medical gas zone valve box, then I show you how to modify it, then I show you how to create medical gas alarm panels, then I show you how to create medical gas outlets, and then we put it all together into two nice little videos. One of them was the piping of the outlets, and the other one was the piping of the zone valve boxes and the placing of the alarm panels. Then I show you how to tag all those families, and today we're going to learn how to schedule those families. So for that, we're going to generate a set of medical gas parameters, and then we're going to call for them into our schedules or tables for both zone valve boxes and alarm panels. And I remind you to please ignore the locations and the flows of the medical devices that I show in this series. This is just to show you how the families work and how you can pipe them and how you can tag them. It's very general. But if you really want to learn about medical gas systems design, including the proper placement of medical gas devices and calculations of flows, selection of equipment, and all that, you can simply scan the QR code that you see on screen, and then we can figure something out. For now, let's just get started. Okay, so whenever you're scheduling medical gas devices, it's always the same story. You have a certain type of device, whether it's a wall outlet or a zone valve box or an alarm panel, and then you have a certain ID, a description, and a bunch of medical gases that you may or may not be including in that particular device. And then you have a certain manufacturer, a model number. I typically work with BIMitUp or Amico. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with our medical gas zone valve box schedule. And for this one, we're going to define a bunch of parameters. And we're going to keep it simple at the beginning. So all our parameters are going to be text. And then eventually we'll get a little fancier and we'll be able to extract from the family the size of the zone valve box outlets, for example, for oxygen, medical air, etc. And maybe we'll create zones in Revit so that we can know which alarm panel they're associated to and which rooms they're serving, etc. But for now, we're going to keep it simple and we're going to do everything text, okay? So at least all these parameters are going to be read directly from our family. Hi everyone, this is Alex with BIMitUp, where we help you with professional training and coaching in mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection systems, and Autodesk platforms like Revit and AutoCAD MEP. Let's get started. Okay, let's start with the zone valve box. Start with the two gases. We open our family. Now let's go into our parameters. And right now the only two parameters we have is flow 1 and flow 2, which is the flow of each one of the gases. But let's go ahead and bring in some new parameters. And just as a reminder, what I did was create one parameter for each one of these headers. Okay, so one for ID, one for description, one for manufacturer, one for each one of the gases, etc. And now I'm just importing my parameter set into my family so I don't have to do them one by one. I'm using RF tools for that, so I do apply parameters to family. And once the magic is done, I just close. And now I should be able to see my parameters inside of this family. There you go, they're here. So it would be a good idea to set up the equipment tag as zone valve box dash. Or maybe if you do x.x, then that would serve as a placeholder. So whoever is filling up this information, they know the syntax. So this is good. So let's do that for each one of our types. And now from the cut sheet, we can take a look at the nomenclature here. So it's going to be ZIL, where L is the language. So in my case, it's going to be ZIU most of the time because this is English. So I can leave this as ZIU, then a dash, and then let's see what else. Then we have a P and then X, and then the X is going to denote the size of each one of the valves. So for 1/2 inch is 1, for 3/4 is 2, 1 inch is 3, etc. So I'm going to take this to my other screen, and you could kind of like pre-fill this with all the different types, but it's just too many permutations. I don't think it's worth it, so I'm just going to do a couple. So let's start from top to bottom. 1/2 inch is 1, 1. Zone valve box, this is the device type, that's good. Default flow, we can keep a 1 and 1, it doesn't matter. But they should actually be reading the demand that is connecting to the valve box. So we can keep whatever as default, it will be overwritten by whatever is being calculated in the system. And for this, since I don't know if this is going to be oxygen and medical air, or oxygen and nitrous oxide or nitrogen, I'm just going to leave this blank, all of them. So I have all the medical gases blank, and then the user would have to input whatever is required. Then this MedGas zone valve box will not be required because I already have my equipment tag here. So I'm going to remove it from this list. And then nominal pipe diameters 1 and 2 are part of the family creation. So let's go to 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch. So that would be 2, 2. And then we said that the default flow was going to be 1 for both. It doesn't really matter. And then we said that we were going to leave this blank for the user to fill it up with whatever gas is being used. And then the nominal pipe diameters 1 and 2, again, are family parameters that are driving geometry, so we don't touch that. Then we go with 1, 1. So 1 inch and 1 inch are number 3, so 3, 3. Again, MedGas flow 1 and 1, and then we remove all that we had, and we keep the 2 diameters that are driving the geometry. Now 1 1/4 is number 4, so we come here, and this is going to be 4, 4. Again, we keep 1 and 1, and we removed everything else. We keep the 1 1/4 pipe diameters that are driving the geometry. And then finally we have 1 1/2, 1 1/2. And the number for 1 1/2 is 5. So this is 5, 5. We said this was going to be 1 by default, and we were going to delete this. And we keep the 1 1/2 inch pipe diameters that are driving the geometry. So these are just 5 options for this valve, but obviously you could have like 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, or 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch, or you could have 1/2 inch, 1 inch, or 3/4 inch, 1 1/4 inch. So the combinations are just too many for me to do. It just doesn't make any sense. So if I were in need, for example, of a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, what I would do is create a new family type and then change that diameter to 3/4 inch. But that's on a need basis, you know. I'm not gonna have 10,000 different combinations here. I know what to do, so I'll do it if required. Okay, I'm just showing you the parameters here. Now let's organize this a little bit so that they come in the same order as they appear in the schedule. So this equipment tag, I actually want it to be grouped under plumbing, so they all appear together. There you go. So I want equipment tag first, then I want the device type or description, then I want the manufacturer, that's what I have, then I want the equipment model number, that's what I have. Now I want my gases, so oxygen is going to be first, then I have medical air, then medical vacuum, then nitrogen, then nitrous oxide, then WOG D, then CO2, then instrument air. Now I want the alarm panel monitoring this, which is going to be AAP something, right? And that something is going to be a dash, the number of the floor, a dot, and then the number of the area that is serving. So they're going to be, you know, hand in hand, these two guys. I have an opportunity to automate some of this, but we'll look at that later. And then the slide we can remove. This is irrelevant for the zone valve boxes, and we should be good to go. Now keep in mind that I could fill this up with 1/2 inches all over the place, and 2 of them will be correct because this is a 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. But I don't want to do this because then it will automatically populate my schedule, and I'd rather not have anything in the schedule calling for attention, so that then I can fill it up with correct information than have it filled up and not be aware of it, you know? So I'd rather leave it blank. So now let's take one last quick look. Looking good. 1 XX, 2 XX, 3 XX, 4 XX, and 5 XX. So it seems like we're okay so far. So let's just hit OK. So let's see, what else are we missing? We have all this. We're missing this, 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 and that. So let's go ahead and add those parameters. So create parameter, a new parameter. It's gonna be share parameter. I'm gonna pick it up from BIMitUp share parameters. So this will be AJS MedGas sensor in the zone valve box. It's a yes or no. I can make it a yes or no parameter. For now I'm gonna keep it as text, and then later on we get a little fancier and we just replace the parameter for another one. This one's instance parameter. Okay. So AJS MedGas sensor ceiling can be a yes or no parameter. Let's go OK. Okay, now let's go ahead and add. So let's see, new parameter, share parameter. We navigate to the BIMitUp AJS parameters under plumbing. So MedGas sensor ceiling. We want to group this under plumbing. Okay, and I purposely kept the sensors, one of them a yes or no parameter. And let's add the other sensor because it can have a sensor on the ceiling or at the box or both. So share parameter, select plumbing. So sensor zone valve box. Now we have the MedGas sensor on the ceiling. So let's add the other one for the zone valve box. Again, instance parameter, and we want to group those under plumbing. And I purposely kept this 2, one of them as a yes no parameter and the other one as text, so you could input either yes or no, because I want to see how they behave and then I'll make a decision. But I know this one for sure I want it first, and then the ceiling as second. And now which area is being served. So share parameter, plumbing. We have it under equipment serving. What's the equipment serving? And we also want to group everything under plumbing so we can find it really easy. Oh, and I already have this one. So but it was here under other. That's why I couldn't find it. That's why I like them all together on the plumbing. And now equipment serving, I'm going to take it down, all the way down after the sensors. Oh, but the sensors went all the way up here. I don't want them here. I want them right after the alarm panel. And then this serving parameter, you can put here which rooms that zone valve box is serving. You know, it can be room 101, 102, 103, or it can be an equipment, you know, a piece of equipment, maybe a hyperbaric chamber or something like that. So we're good here. Let's click OK. And now let's go ahead and test it out in our previous project. Let's go back to our family and then load into project. And it didn't ask me to overwrite because this one here is for pressure, and this one here is for pressure vacuum. So we're gonna have to modify the pressure vacuum one. But let's try to save a little time. So let's go here to RF Tools, Parameter Scheduler, and then we're gonna, from the current document, I'm gonna add them to list, and then I'm gonna save this as a parameter template, and I'm gonna call it AJS MedGas Zone Valve Box. And now I have it here available for my next family. So let me close out of here, close out of here. And now this is the pressure vacuum one. So I want to import that here. So let's go to RF Tools, Parameter Scheduler. We go to MedGas Zone Valve Box. We add them here, and then we apply parameters to this family. Once it's done with its magic, I can close. And now let's go to Create, Parameters. Now let's make sure that this is filled up correctly. So half and half is gonna be 1, 1. Then 3/4, 3/4 is gonna be 2, 2. Then 1, 1 is gonna be 3, 3. 1 1/4 is going to be 4, 4. And then 1 1/2 is going to be 5, 5. See, it is always 5 p.m. somewhere. Okay, now let's have this in order. And if you're enjoying this content, there are many ways you can support it. You can like or leave a nice comment down there. It really helps me out. You can subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. You can join our Patreon community in the link you see on the screen, which is also in the description. You can spread the word around, share it with your coworkers and in social media. And if you know any MEP firms that need help with BIM migration or any other topics, you can let them know so that I can help them. Now keep in mind that all these parameters are instance, but then this one here I had it as type, so I have to change it to an instance parameter. The only one that is not instance parameter is the device type, which is a type, and it makes sense to be a type parameter because all the zone valve boxes are going to be zone valve box, but everything else we have as instance. And then we need the equipment location. We want to group it under plumbing so we don't lose it. Let's take it all the way down. And OK. By default, I like to keep it in the first one always, which is the smallest one. And now we save. Before we forget, we want to go to the previous one. And let's change that one so that the sensor in the ceiling is also an instance parameter. We're going to have to come back anyway and change one of these, whichever I like the least. So let's save. And now this guy is the one that we're going to load into the project. And now it's asking me, do you want to overwrite? Yes, I want to overwrite everything. And once we overwrite, now we see that here we have all our parameters. So last time we had said that since this is level 2, all this 1.4, 1.3 should be 2.4, 2.3. So let's change that. one's 2.4. This one's 2.3. This one's 1.1. And remember, this one's 1.1. This one's 2.1. This one's 2.2. And there you go. So we have 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4. Now we want to create our schedule to see how it looks. So for that, we come here to Schedules, right click, New Schedules and Quantities. What do we want to schedule? We want to schedule mechanical equipment because I created the zone valve boxes as mechanical equipment. I'm going to schedule building components, new construction only, and the name of this schedule is going to be AJS Medical Gas Zone Valve Box Schedule. Okay, what do we want to include here? We want to include AJS equipment tag, that's the first, then the MedGas device type, which is going to be zone valve box, then the equipment manufacturer, then the equipment model number, and now we have the gases. So the first one's oxygen, then we have medical air, then we have medical vacuum, then we have nitrogen, then we have nitrous oxide, then we have WAG-D, then we have CO2, and then we have instrument air. We're done with the medical gases. Now we want which alarm panel is monitoring this. So that's going to be alarm panel. And then we have the sensors. And this is an interesting one because remember we have two different ones. We have one that is a yes or no parameter and another one that is just simple text. So we first have this one, zone valve box, and then in the ceiling, and now the equipment is serving what? And then the location. Let's see what we got so far. That's pretty decent, right? So let's drop it in a sheet to see it a little better. So new sheet. This is just a little test. So let's just drop it here. So we should probably sort this by floor first. So let's go ahead and, so let's go into the schedule, go into sorting and grouping. We want to sort by, but we don't have the level yet. So let's add it to our fields. Level. Then we can keep it at the end. You know, we can probably hide it later on. Let's go to sorting and grouping. We want to sort first by level and then by equipment tag in ascending order. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now let's go to sorting and grouping again, and then let's add a blank line after each level. And of course this is currently listing all the zone valve boxes and also the alarm panels because they're both mechanical equipment and I haven't filtered in any way. Let me go back to my floor plan. Let's make sure that all these guys are zone valve boxes. And one thing I'm going to do before I go any further, I'm going to make a decision regarding my sensors. So if I go here to my sheet and then, you know, let me just make a little more space here. So this will be the sensor in zone valve box column. So I would have to fill this up manually. Yes, no, no, yes. I don't think that's too elegant. I think it's going to be a little bit nicer if we have it as a yes or no parameter. So that if we click it checked, then we have a yes. And then if we uncheck, then you have a no. So I think I'm going to change that right now. I'll be right back. So let me go back into my families. Alright, so I changed the parameter as you can see. Now that I have overwritten the new family, if I click on the zone val box, now I'm able to save this as a sensor at the zone val box and also in the ceiling. So if it had it in the ceiling, I would have clicked here. In this particular case, it doesn't have a sensor in the ceiling. So if I go to zone val box 2.3 in my schedule, zone val box 2.3 is a zone val box. The manufacturer is Amico. The equipment model is ZIU P11 because it's half inch. So what do we have here? For oxygen, we have half inch. For medical vacuum, we have half inch. And for everything else, we have nothing. So no medical air, no nitrogen, no nitrous oxide, no WAG-D, no CO2, and no instrument air. Now, what alarm panel is gonna monitor zone val box 2.3? Alarm panel 2.3. So I changed this to 2.3. Oh, and that's what happens since we created the schedule with the wrong, since we created the schedule with the previous parameter, we have to remove it. So we have to come here, and then this guy, take it out, and then this is the guy that we want to bring in. It's a little confusing because they have the same name, but when I hit edit parameter, I see that this is the correct one because it says yes, no. So I go OK, and now I do have my checkbox here. And let's order it a little bit differently. So the sensor, I want first the zone val box, which is typically the most common one, right? So that's the way I want it. So I do have a sensor in the zone val box, but I don't have a sensor in the ceiling. Now what is that zone val box serving? I know that this valve box is feeding exam 224, 225, and 226. So I can come here, and then here under equipment serving, I know that this is serving 224, 225, and 226. And I can see this reflected on my schedule. And then where is this zone valve box located? It's located in corridor 238. So I can click here and see this equipment location shouldn't be a type parameter. It should have been an instance parameter because the same type of box can be located in different locations. So let's fix that. So this one's the PV option. So equipment location is an instance parameter. So this one's good. Let's go to PV. Here it is. Equipment location. This should be an instance parameter. Okay. We save. We load into project. And we close, and now we can change the location of this guy to, what was it? Corridor 238. So corridor 238. See how our line is looking. Pretty decent, right? Let's play a little bit with the formatting. Let's have all those guys centered. Now let's change the headings. So we said that this was gonna be ID. The second one's gonna be description. The third one's gonna be manufacturer. The next one's gonna be model number. Then this one's gonna be oxygen. This one's gonna be medical air. This one's going to be medical vacuum. This one's going to be nitrogen. This one's going to be nitrous oxide. This one's going to be WAG-D. This one's going to be CO2. This one's going to be instrument air. This one's going to be monitor by alarm panel. This was going to be sensor at the zone valve box. And this was going to be main above ceiling. This is going to be rooms. Area or equipment served. And then this one's going to be location. And then the level stays the same. Let's click OK. Let's go to our sheet. It's starting to look good, huh?